Remember, Jay, after the first week of Ahsoka, when we started to get those initial Samba TV numbers, it didn't look very impressive. In fact, in 6 days, Ahsoka wasn't even able to catch some of the viewership of things like Boba Fett or Mando season 3, let alone something like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And what people said the entire time was just wait for the Nielsen ratings, just wait for the Nielsen ratings. Well, the Nielsen ratings came out and confirmed all of it. That the premiere viewership for Ahsoka over 6 days was about 8.6 million people domestically in the United States. Compare that to 11 million in 3 days for Obi-Wan, 11 million in 5 days for Mando season 3, and 10 million in 4 days for Book of Boba Fett. The only thing that it beat, Star Wars related, was Andor. And it was right on pace with something like Secret Invasion. Well, despite that, people tried to spin those numbers because it had about 800 million minutes watched because they debuted 2 very long episodes. And it's about minutes watched when it comes to Nielsen ratings. Well, the second week Nielsen ratings are finally out. Here are the headlines. One Piece opens big in streaming rankings. Okay, well, what about Ahsoka? Oh, that's right. Ahsoka has fallen out of the top 10 completely.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Ahsoka has fallen out of the top 10 overall. You have to go to original programming, and Ahsoka's down to number 5 in originals, getting beat by Wheel of Time, The Ultimatum, Marry or Move On, Who is Aaron Carter is still destroying it. Obviously, One Piece. Now, there's some things you have to factor in. One Piece released 8 episodes. So, of course, they're going to be able to rack up more minutes watched. Who is Aaron Carter's been out for a while now, but it's still racking up more minutes watched. Ahsoka released a 3rd episode, which is a fairly short episode, and they absolutely fell off ratings-wise. This is comparable to something like Andor's 2nd episode and something like Secret Invasion's 2nd episode when they launched them. So this is where the show's tracking. It's tracking with Andor. It's tracking with Secret Invasion. And although I do think Andor has a good reputation in terms of people think it's good, in terms of audience, it was not good for Andor. Like famously not good for Andor. This also, when you compare it to, say, the second week of release for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Look at the second week of release for Obi-Wan. 958 million minutes watched. Second week of release for Book of Boba Fett. 563 million minutes watched. Ahsoka's floundering right now. Now, could those things change? I've said forever, I think there's going to be a bump when it comes to the Anakin episodes. The next Nielsen ratings that comes out is going to include the end of episode 4, which is when Anakin showed up. And of course, the next one will be episode 5, the entire Anakin episode. I think there will be a boost from those. Those episodes were a little bit longer. And I just think more people are going to be rewatching it and things like that. But when it comes to the audience it has, you can't fucking sit there and deny it at this point. It's on par with the Secret Invasion audience, which, as everyone admitted, was a disaster. It is what it is.
This was the show that couldn't fail. Everything that pointed to it was like, this is the show that couldn't fail. They pulled all the strings. Anakin was in there. They changed the time. They even, for the first week, they blew up the numbers to 14 million for wherever they got that information from. This was a show that couldn't fail. And it just seems like after a while, people just are like, yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know who these characters are. Why should I care? That was the whole reason why I was doing like the live stream reviews on my channel, was just going at it as with the perspective of, I didn't watch Rebels, so I don't really know. I know who, I've heard the names, but I didn't really know what was going on. Didn't know anything about space whales or anything like that and why they're important. I think Balin is a much better character than Thrawn in this series.
Well, he's kind of just done nothing. He's just been like
that's
on
true.
A fucking stationary bike for the last 3 episodes since episode 4, to be honest.
That's still better than Thrawn. Thrawn just like, he's supposed to be some massive fear, putting fear in everybody, and you're just kind of like, I don't know, man. It just seems like he just doesn't do anything. Just looking for the next hot pocket.
When Disney came out with that like 14 million number, I said at the time that it's meaningless because I can believe that that's a real number. And now that we see the rating, I do believe that that's a real number because remember, that was over a week globally. Okay. 14 million views is what they said. And I believe that when you do the calculations, you like 8.6 million domestically. Okay, worldwide, that kind of makes sense. But the problem was they've never revealed that for any show before. So what does that mean? I said what it probably means is that Obi-Wan Kenobi got like 30 million, right? If they would have revealed those numbers, but they never did. And then guess what? A week later, when The Little Mermaid debuts, it gets like 20 million views over like a similar time frame, blowing Ahsoka out of the water. And then Elemental, a movie that lost money at the box office, it comes out on streaming and it gets, according to them, 26 million views over the same time period. So how impressive is Ahsoka's 14? Like, that's the thing you have to look at. You can't compare it to anything. And now the other two things they've revealed, it's not impressive at all. And when you break down the numbers, when you compare it to the other Star Wars shows, the interest in this is lagging. I do think for people that are watching it, they have a better view of it than something like Book of Boba Fett, than something like Mando Season 3 in terms of quality. But I still think there's a lot of people that have issues with the show, but you're not getting as much of an audience interested because a lot of fans have abandoned Star Wars, for one, and two, the ones that would be interested in it, these aren't characters that they give a fuck about because they didn't watch it, because they didn't watch the cartoons.
That's what I'm saying. So like when you see the reunions and you see the big Thrawn reveal and everything, it's just kind of like, okay, who is this and why should I care? For some, it's just quite confusing.